Good morning, bonjour from Paris. Welcome to Studio 5. I'm here with the lovely Emma Nelson this morning. I'm also happy to say there's going to be an array of guests. Emma has her fan club here, but we'll talk about that in a moment. Alexander Kushner is here, also, and Elisabeth Moutet. They're going to be talking about what's going on in the world. But Alexander, good morning. Very nice to see you. A little French story, a couple international stories. What do you want to talk about?
Well, first of all, I think we all need to recover from Davos. So I think we should look a bit about structural news. So we'll talk about why France is having no more babies and whether or not a dating story could alter its political life.
Oh my goodness. Okay, that is a lot. Emma Nelson, very nice to see you. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you,
Tyler? Welcome with your fans.
This was absolutely touching because they don't let me near the public very often, and often for very good reasons. So it was a delight to meet people who'd come all the way from America just to have a look. I hope I didn't disappoint, but it was very, very nice. And if they are listening in the waiting room next door, so very good morning to you. Bonjour.
Yeah, we're calling it the green room. It's also Men's Week here in Paris. We had a very rather large party here last night. Nevertheless, it is the 25th of January, 2026, live from Paris. This is Monocle on Sunday.
Live from Paris, this is Monocle on Sunday with Tyler Brûlé.
And good morning from Studio 5 here in Paris. Wonderful to have you with us, listeners around the world. Emma Nelson, maybe you want to bring us up to speed on what's happening in the world. Do you want to kick off that way this morning?
Yes, of course I can, if you'd like a look at the headlines.
But just if we want to have a small look at the headlines.
Quick look. Okay, fine. Thank you. For the second time this month, there's been a fatal shooting by federal immigration agents in the US city of Minneapolis. Local police say the victim is a 37-year-old intensive care nurse called Alex Pretty. The French Navy has diverted a suspected Russian oil tanker to a part of Marseille in the south of the country. The vessel, called Grinch, is belonging to the so-called shadow fleet that enables Russia to export oil despite sanctions. Italy's recalled its ambassador to Switzerland following the release on bail of the owner of the Swiss bar that was destroyed in a deadly fire on New Year's Day. The US president has threatened to impose a 100% tariff on Canada if it follows through on a trade deal with China. Donald Trump warned the Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney that a deal would endanger his country. And a job satisfaction survey taken by employees of the Vatican City has revealed a portrait of what's been described as widespread frustration, institutional fatigue, and a growing call for transparency. Although the poll was conducted by an internal employment association, Vatican workers are not allowed to join a union, nor may they strike. And those are the headlines. Back to you, Tyler, all of 1 meter away.
I love it. This is we're not sort of separated by a channel and half of a continent. Emma, you were saying last night you arrived in Paris yesterday evening, and just as we were coming in, as you were, of course, chatting to your fans, you were just talking about just the majestic evening that was Paris last night.
Majestic and very, very much alive. I mean, the part of Paris that we find ourselves in is obviously an important part when it comes to fashion. And so it was just, you can go down the street and everything is alive of people who are clearly very, very happy to be here. My goodness, they dress well in this city, don't they? They know what they're doing.
Look at Alex, he's like nodding away over there. He's like, yeah, he's concurring. Yes,
thank you.
With an excellent button down. So thank you, Alex. But just walking down Place de la Bourse, the Hermès show had just finished. You had the sound of Paul Weller blasting all over it, having sort of mounted a takeover. So there was a sort of an edge and a cool to Paris last night. But it didn't seem to have the ego that other fashion week seems to have. You know, people outside seem genuinely joyful that we're there. I
think it's also menswear. I think menswear has a slightly, and we were even saying this when we had this event last night, it's just a little bit more relaxed. Shoulders are down, even though some people had some rather large shoulder pads, including our Kai Freyla, one of our colleagues. He had a very structured suit on. I don't know if you've maybe caught it, Anita. But anyway, it was, I think it's just a different move. But of course, we have couture is also getting underway. And then shoulders go back up, and that's a whole other jamboree, Emma, as you well know.
Indeed, there'll be quite a lot of dress up, which is always tremendously good fun to watch and to see. It's a sort of a parallel universe that you can step lightly into and touch and enjoy.
Indeed,
really, it's good.
As you were saying just before we went on air, it's been an absolutely bonkers news week. Of course, we had team up in Davos. We had colleagues out in Greenland, and I'm very happy to say that our foreign editor, Alexis Self, is back. I believe you're back from Nuuk. I think you might even be in studio or somewhere. Anyway, Alexis, good morning. Maybe just tell us a little bit about the week that was, impressions from, of course, touching down in Nuuk to, of course, your departure back to London.
Bonjour, guys. Good to be here with you, and lovely to hear a bit of that Parisian enchantment making its way to London, which is where I am now, slightly damp and soggy London. Yeah, and Nuuk is first of all, what a remarkable part of the world, and I think somewhere that, well, certainly I'd never been before to the Arctic, and they call it the magnetic north, and I already feel a force dragging me back there. It's so beautiful, and the second thing I think to say is it's one of those places that, in a sense, still feels untouched by globalization, or at least US globalization. You can of course buy Coca-Cola, but there aren't any US franchise stores. There's no Starbucks, and of course, before all of this, it was a place that was moving closer to America, subconsciously at least, and consciously. In June of last year, United Airlines launched the first non-stop commercial flight from the US to Greenland in June, from Newark to Nuuk. And those Yankee dollars have legs, and I'm sure in a few years' time we might have seen some of that change that I alluded to just before. Which leads me on to the third thing, which is, when we arrived in Nuuk on Monday, Trump was refusing to rule out using force to take Greenland, and had just announced tariffs on 8 European countries for not supporting him in that endeavor. And when we arrived, there was a real feeling of tension and anxiety. And of course, when we left on Friday afternoon, and this had turned by then into palpable relief. But I don't think Greenlanders are going to forget the way the US president made them feel for these past couple of weeks.
I want to go back to just an important question. Of course, no Starbucks, but the Danes love their coffee. Did you actually stumble across some good coffee, either while around the microphone or, of course, going to the streets of Nuuk? Just paint me a little bit of a picture, because also we know that this is, and maybe we were so focused on other topics, but also it's a reasonably well-financed place in a very remote part of the world as well.
There's money there. There's lots of nice cars in Nuuk, and I think most of that money comes from fishing at the moment. Nuuk is a very small place. It's 20,000 people tops. Just to answer your question about coffee, there was unfortunately I can't remember the name of the place. There was one roastery on the island, delicious coffee. I have to say, apart from that, it wasn't excellent, but the food was, and let's just say there was stuff like whale and guillemot on the menu, as well as some delicious vegetables. As to the amount of money that's coming in, as I said, I think that was changing, and there was a feeling that because of US visitors coming and tourism increasing, and people becoming more interested in the place, this was a time of growth. But after the past 2 years, perhaps that's abated a bit from the American side, or at least there's a bit more suspicion on the part of the Greenlandic side. But I think they're open to the world, and certainly to Europeans.
Just you talk about the magnetic pull. Any interest in real estate on your side? Were you sort of like looking at some of these lovely little yellow houses? Maybe I mean there are a few apartment buildings as well. Did you maybe thought there could be a penthouse perch for you, Lex?
Well, the views are stunning, and most people that I met in Nuuk had a summer house up the fjord. Many of them had built them themselves. I think that might be a bit beyond my capabilities. But you can imagine those Scandinavian style kind of wooden, well, they look wooden, but they're not. I think originally they would have been, and different colors, very tasteful array of colors. Yeah, I can see it. I can definitely see the appeal. It's not, I always thought I was a warm weather person or more inclined to the south, but you go there and there's something about it. Maybe it's the magnetic nature of the pole, but it really does beguile you in a different way.
Lex Self, our coordinator, I'm going to leave you there because I know you have to scamper off. But I'll also talk to your boss. Maybe there's a post as the chief Arctic correspondent. We are just 10 past 10 here in Paris. Gorgeous day yesterday. It looks like it's going to be a little bit cloudy. For our listeners in the States, you're not probably up yet. Maybe some of our keen ones are. Of course, major storms arriving. Lots of imagery of a proper dumping of snow. Anyway, that is not the case here. Very cozy. Emma, here in Studio 5 in Paris, you sort of walked in and you said that you were sort of making an observation. This is a place. We move on from last night, but just being here versus, and maybe you're talking a little bit about our audience as well. Things that happen you're recognized in Paris.
Indeed, which was delightful and a surprise. I'm glad I brushed my hair. The interesting, lovely thing about the Paris outpost is that it is a living, breathing French cafe. Which is, but has the Monocle.
With a radio studio bolted on the back.
With a radio studio bolted on the back. And okay, we're hidden behind a curtain, but it is just nice to know that this is going on. And you have that lovely accessibility, which so few places and so few radio stations have nowadays, that if you do listen to us, you can come and have a look at what we look like. Yes. And you can see us in action.
Also with the metro running sort of 30 centimetres underfoot as well.
Which is wonderful. I mean, we really don't mind that sort of gentle vibration up the knee when you're trying to do your job and you realise that the ground is moving underneath you. But that gives you a sense of place, and it gives you a sense of what's quite fun. And you could have as many cafes as you like in Paris. There is more than one.
And I was going to say, this is very true, and you sort of deliver a great segue because Alexander Kushner is here, journalist, columnist, academic. I don't know how many books he's written at this point. Are you up to book number 19 or 20, like every French person, it seems? But one of the stories you want to talk about is, of course, no babies. And this is interesting because if you were in Zurich right now, you probably couldn't move for prams in the cafe.
I think that's the cafe.
Yeah, exactly. Here, no prams this morning, which is, so set us up. Where are all the babies in France?
Well, that's the very big question. It seems the babies are gone.
Where do they go, though? Should we go look for them, or what's happened?
Well, that would mean you'd have to walk into somebody's actual sort of private quarters. And if you walk into a Frenchman's private quarters, who knows what mile, And so, no, I wanted to tell you about French natality, because we are, as every country in the world, fertility rate is going down, but at a staggering rate. So on January the 13th, l'INSEE, which is the National Statistic Institute, revealed that in 2025, there were 6,000 more deaths than births in France, meaning we're actually in decline. There are now 1.56 children per woman. It's the lowest since 1918. So the predicted demographic decline is full on. We're still adding a bit more population every year, but that's only thanks to immigrants, really. Why? Well, there are many reasons why this could be happening. The French live longer. They have children later. They have very few of them. All these factors that you have to take into account actually portray our times. There's inflation, there's lack of living space, there's a bleak future, there's apparently a war in Ukraine, the Vatican is getting unionized, French ego is down. I mean, what in the world is happening? So this is having an impact on the private, of course, life of my fellow countrymen. And it's also having dire public consequences, because you're talking about having to reshape an economy, having to reshape a pension reform. This is actually very, very interesting. And you're seeing sort of a weird trend happening worldwide of people not interacting and not actually having sex anymore, which, for us French people is extremely sad to say. So if you look at what's happening, in the USA, there's an online trend that's advocating for young men to give up dating and focus on what they call grinding. It means hitting the gym and starting your business. Okay. It's a productive chastity, if you wish. It's kind of weird. What they're saying is you have to have a zero body count, because, and I quote, every night out is less time scaling your company. As a French,
this is also part of this movement as well, that you need to be up at 5 o'clock in the morning.
Absolutely.
Right? And this is,
drench your face in very cold water at 5:45 so that you could run 25 miles and then start 2 businesses, and then obviously apparently not share it with anyone. And meanwhile in China, there's a boom in the AI boyfriends business. Millions of young Chinese now prefer algorithmic companions to real life people. They say these avatars actually, they look good because you can shape them how you want. They don't shout and they don't cheat. And another app that's all the rage in China is actually the most downloaded paid app in the country is named Are You Dead? And the concept is simple. You need to check in with it every 2 days. You press a big button just to tell your loved ones or the relationships that you have that you're not dead. And so what's this is showing us is that Europe is not the only area affected by demographic decline. China just registered its lowest number in birth rate since 1949. It's still 7.92 million babies a year. But that's down 17% compared to last year. It's also much less than the 11 million deaths that they've had. Marriages are down 20%. Fertility rate is down to 0.89 children per woman. Same causes, same effects, unaffordable housing, very expensive education, precarious job, economic uncertainties, you name it.
Okay, but let's get back to France. So it's great to talk about statistics. It's great to point to what's happening in China and the U.S. I don't know, maybe Frenchmen right now are dunking. Well, we're a few hours behind, dunking their head in cold water. They're on their third startup. No, exactly. We know that. So what is going on here, Alexandre? Tell us what is happening in France. Why are people not having sex, or maybe they are having sex, but there's too much contraception? What's going on?
Well, the exact same thing is happening worldwide. So if you are, a young couple now in Paris looking to have
Can France turn this around? I mean, many things that have to sort of,
let's be honest,
in this country. So
we won't. Because it's a worldwide trend, because housing is extremely expensive.
Fashion Week. I mean, France leads trends. I mean, it's the home of luxury. This is the home of desirable consumption.
But with the greatest of respect, you're not going to fit back into your Chanel two-piece if you've had 7 children. That's just an absolute practicality thing.
There's that.
There is that. I mean, but there's also great tailors, and people can adapt. People can help you adapt, but
even if you have a great tailor, that is not going to help you find an apartment in Paris big enough for you to raise your 7 children. That is going to be quite expensive. And also, if you look at inflation, if you look at the cost of living, if you look at how you can actually move up in the world, this has sort of stalled in Paris, in France, as in pretty much everywhere in the United States. Basically, 25 years ago in France, if you wanted to double your income and basically, really scale up in the world, it would take you 15 years. In 15 years, you would double your standard of living. Now, in France, that's up to 60 years. You don't exactly want to have really a ton of baby if you're not sure whether or not you can afford a house, if you're not sure that you can actually send them to university, and if you're not very much sure whether or not your country is not going to be speaking Russian in a couple of years.
The article in the Le Monde that we're sort of drawing quite a lot of this conversation from is actually the rebalancing, or the splitting of politics. That apparently in France, men have struggled a little bit more to give up the idea that women should stay at home, and whereas women are just getting on with it. And so this is now being reflected in the politics of France, that you have more progressive women who are just saying, hang on a minute, I'm just going to carry on doing what I do. I'm going to go to work. I'm going to be an active part of society and the economy. Whereas men are now moving more to the far right, to the Jordan Bardellas and the Marine Le Pens of this world, by saying, actually, no, we want, in inverted commas, traditional values to prevail. So one wonders how that is going to reconcile itself, because as we move towards presidential elections in the next couple of years, that argument's going to really become a big thing, isn't it?
Absolutely. And it's already the case in the States as well. You're seeing huge discrepancies in what genders are seeing as important. So not only do you first have to reconcile France over who France should be if you want to have more babies, but you also have to restart growth, and you have to sort of reshape the economic system. Even for a Frenchman, on one date, that's a tough call.
Yeah, that is an enormous ask. It's just gone 19 minutes past 10 here in Paris. You're listening to Monocle on Sunday with me, Tyler Brûlé. Emma Nelson is right here. She's not back at her perch in Studio One in London. So she'll be with us, well, in 11 minutes or so with the news headlines. Emma, when you're released from the studio, though, where are you off to?
I have a time to sort of explore a little bit of Paris. So there will be
about a 90-minute to 2-hour window.
Yes, I have a 2-hour window, and then I have a thing to do. But in that time, I probably will go to Bon Marché, if it's still open, and I have some pepper to buy. When you go to a place... I thought
you were going to say pepper spray, actually.
No, just in case. Well, there's no worry about any French men coming near me, obviously, because they're all being uber macho right-wing face splashers.
I, as a Frenchman, I kind of have to say I disagree on that one, but that still doesn't mean you can't go to,
Thank you very much.
to buy some pepper.
Thank you very much indeed. And it will just be a sort of an absorption of Paris. It doesn't take long to absorb this city and to get back into the swinging of things. And you it's quite an abstract place, and then you just jump off the Eurostar and you think, oh, I get this place, and I know the smell is brilliant. The sounds are brilliant.
Not always, but generally.
But they're brilliant.
Generally.
Brilliant in a powerful and evocative way.
I was going to say, Gare du Nord, maybe in the morning, outbound to London, not so great. You're listening to Monocle on Sunday. We're going away for a short break. When we come back, we're going to be talking, well, maybe front covers, M. Le Monde, and maybe some other headlines as well. Stay with us.
Funny how many people get these things wrong. I go into a lot of jazz clubs, and I go, what made you build it like this?
Everyone's got an opinion about design these days. Join us on a journey to cut through the noise as we sit down with some of the design greats.
It's possible to really improve how we live and how we work through design.
Make sure you tune in every Tuesday at 2000 London time for Monocle's weekly design show, Monocle on Design, or find it wherever you get your podcasts.
You're back with Monocle on Sunday with me, Tyler Brûlé. Emma Nelson is here from London. Also, Alexandre Kouchner is here. And I'm very, very happy to say that Marie-Pierre Lalonde is also here from one of our favourite magazines, certainly our favourite weekend supplement anywhere in the world, M. Le Monde. It's true. It's anyway, bonjour, welcome. Very nice to see you. Good morning.
Good morning, and thank you very much.
Not at all. Robbie Williams is on the cover of this week's weekend's edition, I should say. What does Robbie have to say and reveal?
I suppose that probably for you, as British people, know nothing to reveal because you know him well for years and years. But I think for the French people, he's not. I mean, he's very popular, but yes, he speaks about his mental health. He speaks about the fact that when he was young, he was not really in the Britpop movement, and probably they were a little bit snob.
Sure,
yes.
Absolutely.
And yes, he's a 53 years old man. Yeah. So yes, he goes back to the past and can speak about his career, and it's interesting.
Okay, so this is not a play to sell more copies of M. Le Monde, because of course he spends a lot of time in Suisse romand. I mean, he is, I don't know if he's official tax resident in French Switzerland as well. So this is not a play to get more magazines sold, because he has co-opted a little bit of a French, like, because Emma was asking, do we ever see him in Zurich? We don't see him in Zurich because, well, not because he doesn't like German-speaking Switzerland, but he's on the other side of the country.
Mm-hmm. May I ask a question? Am I right in thinking that, well, maybe you could explore the popularity of Robbie Williams, but does he do adverts for cat food in French on French television?
No.
I saw him last time. Maybe I was having a fever dream. Have you heard this?
No, I'm ashamed. I never watch TV, French TV. That's the point.
Yeah, but yes.
I nearly fell off my chair.
He was doing a cat food ad. Yes.
Really?
I don't know.
And we've got one of our producers is nodding along.
I'm sorry.
You're not tuning into TF1, so
no, never.
Wait, he's a cat person.
Never.
But I found that incredible. But
this happens. So many people do so many things in this globalized world that they're doing commercials in other countries. No one's ever going to see it.
And Switzerland is a pretty expensive place to live.
And he does it.
Everybody's got to make a living.
Yes, he's going to need to sell the cat food. That raised the questions about just how popular and how well known Robbie Williams is in France. That he puts his name and his voice in. By all accounts, I thought he said it in French as well. So clearly, there's a smattering of words.
I'm not sure actually, but I think is popular, but not that popular, and probably compared to Britain or the United States. I mean, it's not the same popularity, but he's popular among the person in the team of M.
That's all. Listen, hey, that's all that matters. Let's talk about the magazine. You've been through a bit of a transformation. Very nice redesign, I have to say.
Thank you.
What was the? And I was already. I mean, I was comfortable with it. What did you want? Meaning the old design, but then the new design came in. At first, I was like, the first weekend, I was like, oh, okay, this is new. This is.
I was at
Yeah,
I must confess.
It was a bit. This is like it's. If I could say, it's faster. It's I find the design a little bit speedier than it was before.
Okay.
I don't know. I was not in the focus group. Hopefully, you didn't do any focus groups anyway.
We don't do any focus group.
Good.
We can afford.
You can afford.
We can't afford a focus group.
It's a waste of time. I was thinking if an editor-in-chief doesn't know what the readers want, then there's a problem. So, but tell me, what was your vision? What did you, when you briefed your design team, etc., what did you want to do?
I must confess, I don't really brief my design team. You know, I mean the art.
I try to, but anyway.
I'm joking. But the art director, we work closely together for 15 years now. And we don't really brief. We want to evolve, and it's so spontaneous, you know. And I suppose because we live in this digital world, the idea was to be more and more serious, very net. And a bit austere as well.
Yeah, I think. I mean,
and that's it. We are not professional. We are so spontaneous. You know what I mean? I mean, it's really
come on.
No.
Seriously.
No. But I mean, we don't have
meetings,
thinking for hours about what we are going to do.
That's so disappointing,
it's really,
because that's everyone's. I would sort of think that's just what everyone in France does when you.
No.
Get
What do you do on Mondays?
Yeah, exactly. Tell us.
On Mondays, I mean, we are in the finish up of the magazine, and you know, it's 52 issue a year, plus the digital, plus another supplement, plus now the international edition. So. We don't spend so much time overthinking about what we do. You know, we have to deliver.
Yeah. Okay. So
it's disappointed. Huh? No.
I'm interested. How much do you look at others? Are you looking at what is happening in the UK? Are you looking at Süddeutsche Zeitung? Are you looking at Zeit magazine? Do you care what Les Echos is doing with their redesign, or are you really focused on your lane?
I mean, we are focused on on our lane because of all the things we have to do. But of course, I mean, we look at, yes, more or less all the magazines you mentioned. Of course, it's really important. We are in a market.
No, good. I mean, because I think sometimes also there are people who, they just want to remain very focused. They don't want to have external influences.
We have. Of course, we do. Of course, we do. We do look at other magazines everywhere, on the European market and in the US. And also we look a lot about what the people propose on the digital market.
Alexandre, I want to ask you, what is your... when you're not doing radio with us, of course, what is your weekend newspaper consumption look like?
Well, I have to tell you that, even as a political analyst on Sunday, I try not to read the papers. I think there's you just one day.
I don't believe that either, but anyway.
Just one day. Well, I do get the notifications on my cell phone, so I won't say I'm completely out of touch, but just for one day. At least in the morning, try to get a nice cup of coffee and pretend like this is not completely 2026 and, Trump not invading Greenland is seen as a win. So I tried not to read much papers on Sundays, but then on Mondays go back again. And of course it goes to Le Monde, which is the leading newspaper in France and the most revered. And I also try and look at what's happening worldwide. We have a great paper, which is part of the Groupe Le Monde, actually, called Courrier International here in Paris, which sort of gives you a
success, actually.
Yeah, and it's a brilliant idea. It gives you a digest.
It's a summary, right?
It's sort of a summary. Basically, it gives you articles from newspapers all over the world, but as if it were one newspaper. So it allows you to gain a lot of perspective. So if you've read Le Monde and you dove into The Economist and you look at Courrier International, that's already a good digest. And then you have the newsletters that are great. And of course, if you don't read one Monocle article a day, then the day's wasted.
Well, so we're going to go to the news headlines in a second. But Marie-Pierre, I want to ask you, you mentioned things digital. How much, and then you've got a great newsletter, how much of the newsletter is really pushing people to, of course, go and purchase, make sure they go out on a Friday to get the newspaper, as opposed to that it lives in its own world and you can just remain in your, M. Le Monde world on your mobile. promotion or really information?
Oh my God, that's so difficult. I think information is important for us. I mean, it's the most important on every field. I mean, even on fashion, on food, on information is key for us. And also everything, we try to find the meaning of everything, you know, even on fashion, what is happening in fashion now in Paris with all those new art director in the big fashion houses, or the change in the changes in the houses. That's a journalistic field. It's passion. I'm passionate about that, about the meaning of all that, and of course the success they will have.
You're listening to Monocle on Sunday. Just gone a little bit adrift of 10:30. I'm very happy to say that we have the editorial director of M. Le Monde around the table, also Alexandre Kouchner. We're going to talk a little bit about just what else is happening in the world in a moment. But Emma Nelson is here with the news headlines.
Thank you very much indeed, Tyler. For the second time this month, there's been a fatal shooting by federal immigration agents in the US city of Minneapolis. Local police say the victim is a 37-year-old intensive care nurse called Alex Pretty. The French Navy has diverted a suspected Russian oil tanker to a port of Marseille in the south of the country. The vessel, called the Grinch, belongs to the so-called Shadow Fleet that enables Russia to export oil despite sanctions. Italy's recalled its ambassador to Switzerland following the release on bail of the owner of the Swiss bar destroyed in a deadly fire on New Year's Day. The US president has threatened to impose a 100% tariff on Canada if it follows through on a trade deal with China. Donald Trump warned the Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney that China will eat Canada alive. A job satisfaction survey taken by employees of the Vatican City has revealed a portrait of what's been called widespread frustration, institutional fatigue and a growing call for transparency. Vatican workers are not allowed to join a union, nor are they allowed to strike. And France's state railway has launched a new first-class section on selected trains, offering a quiet, dedicated space for business travellers. SNCF introduced a new Optimum Plus class at the beginning of January, replacing the existing Business Premier. Children under 12 years old are not allowed. And those are the headlines. Back to you, Tyler.
That is just fantastic news. But I'm wondering how this is going to work in practice, because we have silent cars in Switzerland, and people really obey. And you get on, and if there's a clattering of long fingernails on a keyboard, you're out. You absolutely cannot, of course, take a call. You can't even chat. I mean, and it's very interesting how self-policing it is. And of course, it is Switzerland, and also how it's because you have a lot of tourists coming to Switzerland as well. It's always fascinating to watch. It's normally a woman of a certain age. She's probably 67 to 72, and you can already see her. She's got her eyes on the Chinese tourists who are coming in with 1,000 suitcases, etc. And you're just thinking this is going to go off, and it's so exciting to watch. To our French guests in studio. Is this going to work? Are the French good at self-policing?
Are you hinting that we're an unruly bunch?
I've never noticed. I mean,
small matter of a revolution.
I've never seen water cannons or tear gas in this country. So no, tell us.
Well, I can already tell you that this announcement has already called an uproar, because they're calling it the No Kids wagon.
Well, there's no babies anyway, you said, in the country, so it doesn't matter. So.
No, we're having less and less babies. But if you have a family, you kind of want to be able to board a train to go somewhere with your newborn baby.
Sit somewhere else and sit in another carriage then.
Well, that's what they're saying. The reality is it's actually a very small fraction of carriages. It's only going to be in weekdays when you're not normally traveling with your family. And they're sort of calling it the calm carriages, because they already had calm carriages, but it actually never worked. It turns out, oddly enough, French people are not so great at policing themselves. And I find that flabbergasting.
Matthieu, do you concur? Is this true? You're not good at self-policing yourselves as French, or no?
No, we are not very good at that. Of course, we are French. I mean, you know French people for years. So
yes, but also there's something about the French are elegant, and the French are poised, and the French are, sometimes they can be quite polite, and this is a country of.
Sometimes they can be polite.
And this is a country of codes, both spoken and maybe unwritten as well. So there's not a. sort of a level of harmony that you find amongst yourselves? Or
honestly, when it comes to train etiquette, we're still at the stage where we're trying to educate people to actually take their call in between carriages and not while seating on their seats.
With the speakerphone like wide open as well, yeah.
Well, this is where you actually turn to this 67 to 72-year-old woman, because in France, she's actually watching videos on her cell phone, and she's not very digital native.
Maybe this is her French cousin of the Swiss lady, because they need to get together maybe and listen to some Robbie Williams. Very quickly, you have some other stories. In 60 seconds or less. What else do you want to? We talked France. Anything internationally we want to jump into quickly?
Well, I actually want to talk about France for very quickly, because I want to take it back to dating life.
Right, Emma?
Well,
makes sense.
Because actually a trial and a date could decide France's political future. Marine Le Pen's trial started on January the 14th. Last year, she was found guilty of embezzling EU funds, and she was barred from running for office for 5 years, effecting immediately, in effect banning her from the 2027 elections. She's looking to turn around that conviction, and it's not going well. So it looks like the successor would be the 30-year-old party president, Jordan Bardella. He might be running for president next year. So far, he's doing great in the polls, but he doesn't have the same experience as Marine Le Pen. So his TV appearances are not reassuring for the party. And actually, just last Tuesday, something very important happened in French political life. He was spotted leaving a party with Princess Maria Carolina of Bourbon to Sicily, heiress to an extremely wealthy aristocratic Italian family. And when your boss is on trial, nothing says I'm ready to defend the disenfranchised so-called real French people like dating an aristocratic millionaire. So basically, our entire future hangs on a trial and a date. This is France. This is 2026, and this is already quite tiresome.
You're shaking your head, Pierre.
No, but of course, this is stupid, and this is people news. But I'm sure it will have a political meaning about the fact, especially in the Trump time, about the fact that these politicians, very young but very handsome, in the Trump taste in a way, can date, this very rich princess at the time of TikTok. It's totally, in a way, it's Trumpist, because it's TikTok, handsome young people, very rich people, not a lot of culture, not political culture at all. Yes, I'm interested in what's going to happen with this stupid news in a way. But nowadays, nothing like that can be stupid because it can have political consequences.
Just let's go back to Monsieur Bardella. Are they really dating? Was it just a date, or if I'm reading sort of the people press in France right now, is this an item? Because I think there's lots of other stories about the young man's vanity and where he might spend his time as well. But we won't talk about that.
We don't know. We're going to see. But yes, we're going to see what's happened.
I love the fact that Marie-Pierre's face has an absolute look of I couldn't care less all over it.
But it does alter political dynamics, and it does tell you a lot about the spirit of the time. And if you actually want to sort of set aside the fact that he might be dating an Italian aristocrat, he is still credited with 35% in the polls, meaning we're going to have a very long and heated year, because in French politics, everybody's looking at it was this 2027 election as if this could be the sort of the making or breaking of a modern France. So I'm not bringing this news just because I want to tell you about Jordan Bardella's love life. We are actually in the midst of seeing whether or not this 2027 presidential dynamics are reshaping live as we go through it.
May I ask a question about this? Because when you're talking about this, it sort of refers me back to the no children in the carriage train. That when you read French history, in May 1968, everybody protested and had a revolution. In 1789, France protested and had a revolution and chopped off the aristocrat's head. So you are a country who, when you are going to school and you're learning your history, it is literally about, if you don't like those in charge, you get rid of them. This is that sort of pushing back of, we don't like to follow rules, we can't self-police. Yet at the same time, you still have this major fascination with the aristocracy, with tradition, with
of course
the other thing. And it is this like really big tension that gets played out in the quiet carriage of the SNCF and on the front page of, on TikTok nowadays.
You're actually referring to something that has been studied in the French history, and especially relating to our political history, and it's called the separation of the body of the king. And some historians argue that we basically never recovered from beheading kings. And ever since then, we've been looking for very potent and powerful figures trying to reconcile the two bodies of the king, the head, which would be, the looking ahead and the very strong political stance, and the body itself, which is this affectionate, touching and all-encompassing body. And there's this tension really about whether or not we want a truly vibrant democracy or actually very effective sort of king-like monarchy. Truth is, we're not big on kings.
Speaking of things big, I'm holding a copy of M. Le Monde, the international edition, the Legend Special. Listen, I think most listeners who go into a Monocle shop internationally, you would find copies of this beautiful magazine that you've done. And so for our listeners, this is an English language edition where they've taken the best of the stories of 52 weeks of the magazine and compiled it into just this wonderful, beautiful volume that people can read at their leisure. Marie-Pierre, are you happy with how this has gone, and are there more to come?
Yes, we have. We are very happy, and we're going to have a new one in March.
Good.
So yes, we go on with a print edition of the magazine and international.
Bravo. Very, very good to have both of you here, Marie-Pierre Lalonde and of M. Le Monde International. Well, not just international, just M. Le Monde. You don't need to say anything else. And Alexandre Kouchner, very nice to see you. Could we just say very quickly, do you know that it's interesting because Marie-Pierre is not wearing headphones. And this goes back to your mom, by the way. Now, your mother, I'm talking to Alexandre, reconfigured this studio. So Christine came in here. And of course, we know the power and the importance of the coiffure, right? Emma's in hysterics about this. We used to have sort of more air traffic controller headsets on. So you had the microphone here and there. Very easy to get people in and out. Your mom was having none of it. It was just sort of to what she was, this is ridiculous. She was, I'm not putting this thing on my head like this. So sort of just daintily, right? Emma, she just sort of held it to one ear. And
I believe someone else actually may have held the headphones for her. I don't think nothing touched a hair on your mother's head. I think she'd just been for a do. Yeah. And there was a party here, so it was important that we looked our best. But I think she had a special headphone holding person.
And we've now spent tens of thousands to reconfigure the studio. So listen.
I see a shrink twice a week.
And on that note, we're going to leave it there. We're going away for a very short break. Have a good week, both of you. Lovely seeing you.
Thank you.
You're listening to Monocle on Sunday.
Do you want the tactility of print and the speed of digital? Well, sign up for a Monocle subscription today and enjoy 10 issues plus 4 annual specials, as well as access to the Monocle digital editions. The Monocle digital editions offers improved access to the magazine on the go and at the touch of a button. It also includes our extensive archive of global reporting and a growing roster of travel guides and tips too. Head to monocle.com/subscribe to sign up now.
And you are back with Monocle on Sunday. Studio 5 here in Paris with me, Tyler Brûlé, also Emma Nelson as well. Emma, you're furiously looking for something.
Yes.
I can see you scrolling around the screen. What are you trying to find?
I'm trying to find
kings or what's the topic?
Done with that. We've chopped that head off.
Yes.
I'm actually looking at Hermès from last night.
Okay, very good.
The farewell to Véronique Nichanian after what she'd been here for. She's been in sort of in position since I think 1988, am I correct there? Is it 1990? But she's 71.
Yeah.
And she's managed to sort of steer Hermès for decades. And so her departure was a very touching but rather beautiful one last night.
Yeah, it was a big moment. We had to all sort of adjust our party last night as well so people could come here first and make their way to the party. I'm very happy to say that Matthieu Zucconi is here, men's editor, fashion correspondent for Le Figaro, very good to see you.
Good to see you.
It's been a whole week. I mean, we saw you in Milano last week. Maybe bring our listeners up to speed, sort of headline wise. What did you see in Milan, and what are you seeing in Paris? I mean, we don't have to go to trends in terms of crop trousers, flares, big shoulder pads, but what is emerging, and maybe also particularly from a business perspective as well. What is the sentiment? What are you feeling?
I mean,
good morning, by the way.
Good morning. Milan was a very conservative season. I mean, we've seen a lot of suits, as always, a lot of matching sets as well. I feel like, the way Milan Men's Fashion Week is built, recently is just like very few shows, because a lot of brands decided to show during the women's schedule. So, and they show men's and women's together. And then we have quite a few presentations of like tailors, like brands like Brioni and stuff, that are just like showing things on a kind of like fixed way. So that's why we see a lot of tailoring and a lot of very classical stuff in Milan. So yeah.
I mean, we've heard for maybe the last 2 seasons, and we have real anecdotal evidence because one of our partner companies, even within our own shops, people are buying more ties, that we see this return to formality. Is that widespread? Of course, is it because people are going back to the office? We can't be in elasticated trousers forever. What is your take?
No, that's true. I mean, it's actually interesting that we see a lot of like classical stuff, but styled in a new way. So, for example, I was yesterday in the Celine office looking at their new collection. That was a presentation. And the way it was styled was, you get a suit, but then maybe you match it with like a denim jacket, or like the tie is a little bit too long, or like there's a play on proportions and a play on, styling tricks. That is, I think, interesting. It's like a refreshing way to play the classics. And I think maybe we're reaching the end of that preppy return, because we've seen a lot of preppiness over the past 2-3 years, I would say. And we see kind of like a return to extravagance in a few collections that, this season. But yeah, I feel it's always like playing around, and yeah, there are a lot of like interesting stuff happening with classical.
And this playing around, is this coming from the atelier and the houses which are saying we need to switch things up? We've had so much relaxed tailoring for such a long time. We need to sort of sharpen up again. Or is this coming from actually what men genuinely want to wear when they go out in the morning? What makes them feel good? What makes them feel as if they can do their job and feel wonderful?
I think there is a return to the pleasure of dressing among men. I mean, around the shows, I see people that just want to get dressed again, and I think like it's quite common for everyone. I mean, it's a logical like reaction to what happened during the pandemic, where everyone was wearing a sweater, like a hoodie and sweatpants and everything, and people are just like enjoying to put on some very nice clothes again, and maybe play more with like color, like getting pleasure of dressing again, kind of.
I'm curious, just a little bit of compare and contrast between Pitti in Florence and Milan, and I sort of feel there's a sentiment that everyone is just saying that there is this contraction, fewer shows, more presentations, etc. And I don't want to do a tale of 2 cities, but what is your feeling when you look at the state of business between, let's say, brand Italia versus brand France on the, well, I mean, we can talk menswear, but on the fashion front in general?
There's a higher and higher, like the bigger and bigger divide, I would say. Brand Italia, as you said, is kind of struggling at the moment because a lot of brands want to show in Paris. If you're a small designer now and you're like a creative brand and you aspire to be a fashion brand, you kind of want to be in Paris, because that's where, all the big guns are. And, a lot of designers just tell me it's like, playing the Champions League, if you allow me like a football analogy. But Milan is still very important for business. And I think a lot of buyers go to Milan and then they will see a lot of stuff that they're going to end up buying, and they will bring to store soon. And then after this, they're going to go back to Milan to the market. But Paris is where the creative excitement happens, because of the driving force of obviously all the big brands and the small designers that want to do it.
I'm curious, just what is outstanding for you, and I'm also curious as well when you are, of course, you're covering fashion, but you are doing it also for Le Figaro. This means that you have to have an underpinning of what this means for the economics as well. In your job, Matthieu, are you venturing mostly to shows, or are you also doing a lot of showrooms? Are you going to Man? Are you going to Welcome Edition? Are you going to other trade fairs as well? And I'm wondering what that tension is between serving a readership with familiarity, that people recognize Brioni, they recognize Canali, they recognize Gucci, whatever, versus discovery.
I'm always trying to discover new stuff. The way I'm approaching my coverage at Le Figaro is going to a lot of showrooms as well and speak about, write about brands that I find exciting, but I think will resonate with my readers. And I think being a French publication means all readers are excited about a lot of the big names of French fashion, but they don't get so excited, I would say, about some of the big names of other countries, But it's always about finding this new designer, this new collection, something that hasn't been too covered yet. And there is an element of discovery. And some of the best clothes that I've seen this season were actually not at shows, but in showrooms.
Okay, we will come back to that. We're going to go away for a very short break. You're listening to Monocle on Sunday with me, Tyler Brûlé, Emma Nelson. We're back right after this.
The Foreign Desk is Monocle Radio's weekly world affairs programme. We tackle the biggest global news stories as well as those too often left untold.
I think Kagame, who is very adept at reading the signals from the international community, will be thinking, I've got away with it yet again.
Our expert guests offer in-depth analysis and first-hand experience.
You're not going to have someone now who's going to hang up the phone and say, we're not going to do that. There are no more guardrails on Donald Trump.
The Foreign Desk with me, Andrew Muller, is available every Saturday from midday London time, right here on Monocle Radio.
It's 18:51 if you're listening in Tokyo, which I hope you are. It's 10:51 here in Studio 5 in Paris with me, Tyler Brûlé. Also, Emma Nelson is here. Enjoying the ride today, Emma?
Absolutely loving the ride, because we're not talking about a certain American president.
Yes, exactly.
It's a palate cleanser par excellence today. It's good to know.
Also, in the break, Daphne Denny just joined us as well, editor of Trax Magazine. Bonjour, very nice to see you.
Bonjour.
Of course, a little bit of a history with this company as well, so super to see you. For our listeners, Daphne, around the world, I should also say that Matthieu Zucconi is also here. He's still with us from Le Figaro. For those who are not familiar with Trax, how do you pitch yourself when you bump into someone on the metro or on an Air France flight?
We say that we are, it's one of Arte, which is a French-German channel, one of the oldest shows. It's 29 years old this year, and it's about countercultures. We call it cultural resistance, countercultures. We look for the underground in a world that doesn't seem to have so much counterculture anymore.
And also going beyond. I mean, of course, Arte is as you said, it is a construct, Franco-Germanic, available everywhere. Of course, that you have television in Europe, but it's also global in approach. You're not just sort of staying within the borders of French-speaking and German-speaking world.
Absolutely not. The project is European. It actually now exists in Spain, in Italy, in Poland, in Scandinavia, and the goal is to really have a global audience. So it's really fascinating for me because we don't just talk to a French audience.
I'm keen within this segment, just before we get to the end of the show, and with Emma here as well. We're always talking about and a bit of comparing, contrasting French media with English language media. I'm obsessed with French morning television because all of these. Well, only because it's just interesting. People are so perky. There is this sort of liveliness, and I sort of, they all wake up at 2 a.m. because when you watch it at 7 a.m. there's just and the hair is good, and there's generally good outfits, and I find a lot of if I'm watching I would like to blow up all of those British morning shows. They're just such downers. But anyway, that's a whole other topic. I want to just maybe I'll come to you, Matthieu, first. Feeling and state of the French media right now. We had Marie-Pierre Lalonde just on a moment ago. It's very interesting what M. Le Monde is doing, how it's becoming a bit of a global brand or more than a global brand as a magazine. But what is your feeling about the state of the market right now?
I think there are interesting things happening at the moment. I mean, M is a very big success. I feel like L'Etiquette as well in their own market is also a very big success. What I find interesting is like, for me, the best brands, media brands right now are brands that are like native to the market. And I feel like a lot of groups have been trying to, pull out some French edition of whatever magazine, but it's not really succeeding. And the best success stories we witness are things that are built in France with a French point of view, and then appeal to the international audience.
Definitely. What's exciting you at the moment? As you said, you're out uncovering things. What's your read?
Oh, what's exciting? Well, what's exciting me is more international, I have to say. I think I said to you, I'm half Colombian, so I'm very interested in the rise of Latin American culture at the moment. The Economist predicted a huge rise in 2026, which I'm really excited about. But I'm happy to see that Europe, and this is something that I'm working on a bit, Europe has more and more Latin American creatives, which is completely unseen aside from Spain. I feel like there's a sort of global movement that's becoming interesting and different, and not just American or South American, but is just the mix of cultures, and the diaspora has like really interesting things to say. Yeah.
I think what I quite enjoy is that when you come to France and you sit down and you pick up a magazine or you pick up a newspaper, you very much get that sense that the diaspora is being included, especially in Paris, and in everyday conversation as well. I mean, we had Marie-Pierre Lannelongue on a moment ago, and I'm just looking at her magazine. It straddles everything, and it has a real sense of knowingness about it. That one page is saying, answering the great debates of this life. Are there people who still go to the loo without their phones? But also the next page is the uncertain future of Venezuelans. Right across French media, you have this sense of self. You know who you are. You know what you do. You're not afraid to have a conversation and to dive a little bit deeper, to intellectualize without it becoming too heavy or high fiber.
Yeah, I think we definitely have that trait as French people. We like to dive deep in stories, and we don't. We're not satisfied to just be like superficial, which I really like, and I think we do find that in French media. Yes, though I do find it also in Monocle or other English-speaking publications, to be honest.
And we're happy to hear that. Just before we go, if people are tuning in, of course they can also find you, of course, on Arte's website as well. I guess globally as well, correct?
Arte.tv, and also social media. It's unavoidable now. So,
okay, this is very true. Matthieu, just what are we looking forward to today? Shows, anything coming up? A few show reports, or is it an easy Sunday for you?
No, it's going to be easy but busy. So I'm going to go to the Sakai show just after this, which is always an exciting moment. And then I need to go re-see a very good brand that I've seen briefly earlier in the week called Salon C. Landman. It's a Swedish guy. It's honestly maybe the best clothes I've seen this week.
Really? And what did you like about and tell us the name one more time? Just
Salon C. Landman.
C. Landman, okay.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's just like very easy tailoring, very well made, and the guy is just like thinking, in terms of shapes, but in very interesting ways. It looks like familiar, but it's actually well constructed and stuff. Very interesting.
Okay, well, we always like a little bit of discovery. Matthieu Zucconi from Le Figaro. Definitely super to see you. And it'd be great to also unpack more, I think, this topic of all things Latin America, because we just had a team in Madrid the other day for Futuro, the big travel expo. And I think people just said the power of everything coming out of Guatemala everywhere is really remarkable to see.
Yeah, no, it's fantastic. Also here in Paris, there's a bunch of very young creatives really rocking the scene. So definitely something to look out for.
Emma Nelson's been a good day, hasn't it?
Lovely day. We've only just begun.
I know. It is definitely going to run and run. Definitely it is. Matthieu Zucconi, super thanks for me. Also Alexander Kushner, and also I have to say, I said that Anne-Elisabeth Moutet was going to be here, but she got the day wrong anyway. Also Marie-Pierre Lannelongue as well. Our producers today, Desiree Banley, Anita Riotta, also Mariella Bevan. Great to have David Stevens here as well. That is all for today. We are going to be back probably checking in because a few things also happening in Paris over the coming
One
days.
or two things.
Yeah, have a good Sunday. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.